It is indeed a matter of great pleasure for me to welcome you all to this international webinar, which is organized in the occasion of 23rd death anniversary of Jnanpith Awardee, great Indian author, Dr. Birendra Kumar Bhattacharyya. All of us know that late Bhattacharya was an eminent Indian author of his own repute, and he began his writing poems and short stories in his teens, and at 37, he won the Sahitya Academy Award. At 55, he won Jnanpith Award. He became the vice president of the Sahitya Academy at 59 and president at 64. So this is the journey of his literary life as a literature and as a literary organizer. He came from a remote village of Assam, and his journey from that remote village of Assam to Sahitya Academy, it has it is full of experiences. The experiences he gathered from that journey, he has reflected through his literature. Today, the webinar is organized to give tribute to him on the occasion of his 23rd death anniversary. And we are happy to inform you that we have with us today the four reputed scholars from India and abroad will speak on the life, works, and the relevant extensions of the works of Dr. Birendra Kumar Bhattacharyya. Let us start the webinar with a recorded speech of Madam Vinita Bhattacharya, the spouse of late Dr. Birendra Kumar Bhattacharya, who has offered her speech in a recorded mode in a context of because of the COVID-19 pandemic. We collected her recorded speech, and now we are going to start the program with her speech. Please.
আজি প্রয়াত ডক্টর বীরেন্দ্র কুমার ভট্টাচার্যর স্মৃতি দিবস উপলক্ষে এখন আন্তঃৰাষ্ট্ৰীয় ওয়েবিনার অনুষ্ঠিত হ'ব বুলি শুনি আনন্দিত হৈছোঁ। ইয়াত অংশগ্ৰহণ কৰা গুণী জ্ঞানী বিশিষ্ট ব্যক্তিসকলক মোৰ আন্তৰিক অভিনন্দন জনাইছোঁ। বিভিন্ন প্ৰান্তৰ সহযোগী ব্যক্তিসকলক ওলগ জনাইছোঁ। এই কামত অপৰিহাৰ্য কাৰিকৰী দিশৰ ব্যক্তিসকলকো মোৰ শুভেচ্ছা জনাইছোঁ। শেষত ৱেবিনাৰ সফলতা কামনাৰে বিনীতা ভট্টাচাৰ্য। অভিনয় সফল কামনাৰে বিনীতা ভট্টাচাৰ্য, বীৰেন্দ্ৰ ভৱন, গুৱাহাটী 4। Thank you very much.
This was the voice of Vinita Bhattacharya, Madam, the spouse of late Birendra Kumar Bhattacharya. We are grateful to Vinita, Madam, for her speech. May I now request Dr. Dipankar Bhattacharya, the Secretary of Birendra Kumar Bhattacharya Memorial Trust, to offer floral tribute to Birendra Kumar Bhattacharya.
Namaskar. Good afternoon, everybody. Today is 6th August, 23rd date anniversary of legendary writer, Jnanpith Awardee, ex-President Sahitya Academy, Dr. Birendra Kumar Bhattacharyya. And to commemorate this occasion, Birendra Kumar Bhattacharya Memorial Trust have organized, with technical support from Amtron, this webinar on the life and works of Dr. Birendra Kumar Bhattacharya. And hope you all will enjoy this webinar. And before welcoming you, I just want to give, on behalf of all of you, a floral tribute to this legendary writer. respected Professor Nagen Saikia, sir, who is a prolific writer, ex-president Sahitya Sabha, Assam Sahitya Sabha, and ex-MP. Respected Professor Amar Jyoti Chaudhary, Vice Chancellor, Downtown University. Respected Professor Onur Manatung, Director, Center of Heritage Studies, University of Kelaniya, Sri Lanka. Respected Dr. K. Srinivas Rao, Secretary, Sahitya Akademi. Respected Professor Satyakam Barthakur, Department of Assamese, and Chairperson, Center for Studies in Journalism and Mass Communication, Dibrugarh University. On behalf of the Trust, we would like to welcome you for your gracious presence on this occasion, which will make this webinar very much livelier. Welcome you all, sir. And I also would like to welcome all the participants from India and abroad, and hope it will be a very fruitful webinar for all of you, especially the students who are in literature, and hope the students would be encouraged to take up the research work in this line of literature. With that, I wind up my welcome speech. Please enjoy the seminar. Thank you very much. And hand over the microphone to Dr. Satyakam.
Thank you, Dr. Bhattacharya, for offering florid tribute to Dr. Birendra Kumar Bhattacharya on behalf of all of us. And we are now going to the business session of this webinar. We have with us Professor Nagen Saikia, sir, who is an erudite scholar of Indology and Assamology, and a creative writer of his repute. He was the former professor of Sahitya Rathi Lakshminath Bezbarua Chair of Dibrugarh University, and also former president of the Sahitya Sabha, the apex literary body of Assam. He was a close associate of late Birendra Kumar Bhattacharya for a long time, and therefore he has some personal experiences with Dr. Bhattacharya. May I now request Professor Saikia, sir, to kindly deliver his speech on personal reminiscence of Birendra Kumar Bhattacharya.
I pay my heartfelt tribute in memory of Dr. Birendra Kumar Bhattacharya, and I shall speak a few words in his memory, especially my feeling about his personality. I heard the name of Birendra Kumar Bhattacharya during my school days, when he became the editor of the Ramdhenu, the magazine, literary magazine, harbinger of modernity into Assamese literature. Later on, he edited another weekly, Navajug. That magazine also put some mark in the history of Assamese literature. I was a subscriber of Ramdhenu since I was a student of class 8. And therefore, Birendra Kumar Bhattacharya's name and his writings became very much, known to me. But as a student of class 8 or 9, it was difficult for me to go through all those, serious articles. But yet I tried my best. I have a memory of the Ramdhenu, especially in this magazine. A drama written by Anandeswar Thakur, Dr. Anandeswar Thakur. It was serialized in the Ramdhan. And after that, when it became complete, I collected all the issues and I wrote it down with my hand to dramatize the whole subject. In our village, we arranged it, and drama, it was named Matir Moram, Love of the Soil. Matir Moram was staged, and that was the first socio-economic drama that was staged in our village. And then I saw him for the first time in the year 1958 when I was a student of JB College. Just at the same time, I want to say that Madam Bhattacharyya, she was my classmate in the college. But at that time, I didn't know that they were going to get married. At that time, I felt that Birendra kumar Bhattacharyya is a very serious man in his mood, but at the same time, very much communicable and simple. It attracted me to his personality. It was the first time that I felt that I was attracted by his personality. I feel he was out and out a humanist. No difference of caste, creed, religion, language he maintained. He was free from all these, above all these differences. Even he was above political differences also. Nowadays we see that in politics, the opposition are very much, inimical to the other parties. But at that time I felt that Birendra kumar Bhattacharyya was very much, that we should take differences very gravely. Rather, as a human being, we should treat all the persons as a human being we should treat. That was his philosophy, and it attracted me very much. Therefore, I have said that he was out and out a humanist. And moreover, moreover, I have seen that he was very much committed to his ideology. He was attached to Gandhism as well as Buddhism, if we can call it Buddhism. He was very much close to Gandhism and also the philosophy of Buddhism. And he graduated from the science stream. But
Please, the participants may kindly mute the voice. Okay, sir.
He went to Nagaland, to the place Ukrul, where he started his career as a school teacher. And at that time, his novel, Yarwingam, was written, which had won the prestigious Academy Award in 1961. Birendra kumar Bhattacharyya, he later on, he mastered in Assamese literature, and he also did his PhD on humorous writings in Assamese literature. But what always attracted Birendra kumar Bhattacharyya me was his simplicity. When he came to Dibrugarh, we had the opportunity to get him as our guest in our small hut. But he was always very much dear to us, and he took everything very, dearly, addressed everybody very openly, and we were very much happy to get him as our guest in our home. But what we talked, it is important to say that we didn't talk about our family matters. Birendra always talked about the socio-political and socio-economic subjects, and he, spoke out his impression, his thoughts, his feelings about these issues. And I am very much happy that I had the chance to talk with Birendra kumar Bhattacharyya very much openly in our household. Later on, when I became very much close to Assam Sahitya Sabha, at that time I have got Birendra kumar Bhattacharyya as my elder brother. That I say, therefore, I didn't call him sir or something like that. I always call him Birendra. And Birendra, he was very much serious about the socio-economic position of the state of Assam. And he said that if we don't take serious action to make it right, to take the state into the right path, then we shall be lagging behind. He later on edited Navajug, which had also gave service to the Assamese literatures and literature, even literature, because he was the man who always tried to bring the people to the community to make the state a harmonious state in our in the present time. He was very much looking forward for the development of the state. I feel that when the Assam movement took place, he supported the main issue of the movement, but he discarded violence. Some sort of violence took place at that time, and it was not because of the persons, not because of the leaders of the movement, but because of the anti-forces. And Birendra kumar Bhattacharyya was very much upset when in 1984, 1984, yes, 1984, yes, 84, I think, he became the president of the Assam Sahitya Sabha. I shall have to speak it out that prior to 2 years back, his name was in the panel of Sahitya Sabha's presidency. But on the same year, Chitanath Brahma Chaudhury's name was also there. When Birendra knew it, he immediately withdrew his name for Chitanath Brahma Chaudhury. I think nobody would do that. The Socialist Party of Assam, they persuaded Birendra kumar Bhattacharyya to go to the parliament from their party. But Birendra refused to go to parliament. He said that I shall fight not from inside, but from outside. And he fought for the people, for the society, and for the cause of the lakhs and lakhs of people of Assam inhabited in Assam. I must say that his vocabulary that he used in his novels and his, short stories, it shows how much he was near to the people. I should also say one more thing about his personality, that is his love for the children. He had love for the children. In some meetings, when I was with him, I felt that when he saw a little girl or a little boy with a smiling face, his face also became very much lighted and enlightened. He said that he actually very much happy to see the happy faces, smiling faces of the children. So this man, he loved people, he loved irrespective of their caste, creed, religion, language, and even political differences. He loved all men, and therefore I always say that he was out and out a humanist. When he became the vice president of Sahitya Academy, I congratulated Birendra. He said that, no, it is not a very high job that I'm taking, but I shall have to do as I can do for the betterment of the organization. Later on, when his name was, proposed for the presidency, at that time I was in Delhi, and he said, should I contest? If I contest, should I go to people, should I go to the members to ask them for vote? I shall not go. I can't appeal, I can't request anybody to vote for me. But he was elected at that time. I was in Delhi at that time, and I was the president of the Assam Association Delhi. I immediately on the same night when the result was out, I organized a meeting in the Assam Bhavan, where Academy's secretary at that time, nowadays I sometimes forget the names or words, he came and we had a very heartfelt gathering in the Assam Bhavan at that night. Later on, prior to that, he was given awarded the Jnanpith Award. Somebody says that at that time the Socialist Party was in Assam, and therefore it was very much, somebody said in that way, criticized in that way, that it was very much easy to get an award. I fought against it. I wrote letters. I said that if somebody felt in that way, he had no idea about Birendra kumar Bhattacharyya's personality. I must say that when he was the president of Sahitya Academy, at that time, a proposal came from the central government that the president of the academy would be nominated by the president of India, and his place will be just like a cabinet minister. Right? No, not cabinet minister, Rajik Mantri, state minister. I think Dalit Kala Academy and Sangeet Natak Academy, both the academies general councils, they accepted it. But when the proposal it was placed before the General Council, Birendra, who was the president of the academy at that time, he heard the speeches of the members of the General Council, and most of the members, they supported that. Yes, that's a very good suggestion that academy president should be nominated by the Rashtrapati, and he would be taken as a minister of state. He would be that, place he will get. But after hearing the comments and speeches of the members, Birendra said that in democracy, the majority's voice will have to be honored. I honor your voice, but at the same time, I feel that if it is made a government organization, just like a government organization, the autonomy that the academy is enjoying, there will be no place of enjoying autonomy in the academy's life. Therefore, myself, I cannot accept this proposal, and I want to resign from the post of president of the academy. Having heard the mind of the president, all the members, they have said that no, let us maintain the autonomy and let us write to the government that Sahitya Academy desires to maintain its autonomy. Otherwise, it would have been just like a government department. I think it is one of the most important points that he raised, and that he, proved to be, very right decision at the right time. Birendra Kumar Bhattacharyya, I knew him from other angles also. Once his novel Mrityunjay was critically analyzed by one Persian in Assam, and he told me on that day he was with us in our home. He told me that I want to write something about it, because the person who is writing this article, he couldn't feel my feeling, and therefore he has written some words that are not acceptable for me. Then I have said that on that day he was very much perturbed. I said that no, let him do that, but you shouldn't reply to these writings. He said, afterwards he said, you suggested very rightly, I shouldn't react. Whatever the people feel, let them speak out. And whatever I feel, I shall speak out. Not in a way to fight against somebody, but in a way to make myself clear. So this man, he maintained the solidarity always, and I have seen that how he was very much serious and simple at the same time. During the time of Assam movement, he became the president of Assam Sahitya Sabha, and I was the general secretary. He proposed that let us go and see the affected areas. In a car, Birendra, myself, and the secretary of Boro Sahitya Sabha of that time, we went to the north bank of Brahmaputra, and we have seen how even not only the houses, but also the trees were burnt down or half burnt. the betel nut trees were standing just like half-burned men. He said that, don't you feel that these trees are very much like half-burned men? We went to the borough areas also, and the other areas too, and we have seen how the violence could make men not only human being but also non-human beings. In Birendra, he proposed one thing, that Sahitya Sabha should not depend on government, but it should have a trust of its own. He named it Assam Sahitya Sabha Jatiyo Nyak Puji, Assam Sahitya Sabha National Trust Fund. And at this moment, I memorize that in 1882, Hemchandra Barua, who was the first grammarian, Assamese grammarian, and also the maker of Assamese dictionary, Hemko, he proposed at that time. I have told Birendra that what you are telling today, suggesting today, it was suggested 100 years back by Hemchandra Barua, the great grammarian. So I feel very much his absence in our time. I hope that his works and his words will remain always in our memory, and it will help the people of the country to know this gentleman, to know his personality. I once again pay my tribute in memory of that.
Thank you, Soikya sir. It is indeed a matter of great privilege to listen to Soikya sir, who was closely associated with Dr. Birendra kumar Bhattacharyya. And we have with us another renowned scholar, Professor Amarjyoti Chaudhary sir, as one of our panelists today. Chaudhary sir, you know that Chaudhary sir is the former Vice Chancellor of Guwahati University, former Pro Vice Chancellor of Tezpur University, and presently the Vice Chancellor of Downtown University. All of us know that Dr. Birendra kumar Bhattacharyya has composed 15 novels, and he has documented all the social events through which he has passed his life. And therefore, the critic says that without having any scientific insight towards the social phenomena, nobody can write, nobody can document in such a manner through the creative writings like novels. Professor Chaudhary sir will highlight in this very interesting topic, scientific quest of Dr. Birendra kumar Bhattacharyya. Chaudhary sir, please. Professor Amarjyoti Chaudhary sir, he is also a renowned personality of the cultural life of Assam and a whole northeastern part. May I now request Professor Chaudhary sir to kindly deliver his speech. Chaudhary sir, you are not audible, sir. Chaudhary sir, you are not audible, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, please. Yeah, now audible, sir. Please.
Yeah. I'm enormously honored to pay tribute to one of the icons of our time, Dr. Birendra kumar Bhattacharyya. I had the fortune of staying in Italy for a couple of years in a place which was very close to Palazzo Vecchio, and near which we had all the creations of the different structures of Michelangelo and the paintings of Leonardo da Vinci. And there was so much, we could see there's so much of explosion of creativity during the Renaissance time. And I also had the fortune of listening to Dario Fo, the Nobel-winning playwright, who told us that it was because of the different ideas, variety of ideas that used to cross through the Silk Route, that the ideas of Renaissance slowly took its firm ground. And it was because of this variety of ideas that led to the flowering of the creativity of Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci. If we carry on in the same line, we find that Dr. Birendra kumar Bhattacharyya too was a truly Renaissance man, in the sense that he had the capacity to turn all the different ideas coming from different areas. We all know that C.P. Snow used to talk about the apartheid between arts, science and arts, that the ideas of arts do not cross over to science, and that of science do not cross over to arts. That was his complaint. But I could see in Dr. Birendra kumar Bhattacharyya that it was there I found a person who had all the curiosities for different topics, different ideas, and he often used to say that problems in life do not come as arts or science, it comes as a combination of all these. We need to penetrate into layers and layers inside these different topics. That was his approach. And we could see that he is a man of ideas, totally a man of ideas, pure ideas, which he wanted to translate into action. And he could also push ideas into other people, make them creative, make them think about it, and come out with their creativity. I still remember when I was in class, first 2 years of my schooling, my father gifted me with a poem called Morlaksha, meaning my aim. And it spoke about a child who wants to be like Gandhiji or Jawaharlal Nehru, then Jai Prakash, Subhash Chandra Bose, all these. And I used to recite this poem very often. And when Dr. Birendra kumar Bhattacharyya, who was very close to my father, and because of they both shared socialist ideas, and also because they shared literary values, same literary values, so they used to meet often in our household. And once when he came, my father asked me to recite in front of him. I recited. Of course, just like others, he also appreciated my recitation. But then he posed me a question. He said that you talked about being like Gandhiji, like Subhash Chandra Bose, like Jawaharlal Nehru, like Jai Prakash Narayan, but what do you really want to be? That was the question that set me thinking. And believe me, I was not a very bright student at that time. But then this was such a question that it got so interpenetrated with my life that I had to think it over and over again and come to a certain conclusion. And I was told by many writers of Ramdenu and Navajug era that they were also simultaneously provoked into thinking like this. When I was in class, that was the first question posed to me. Then when I was in class 8, he had a very interesting question for me. He came to, and one of his days he came to meet my father, and he asked me again that is there a similarity in the chemistry of life in plants and that in and the life that we have? Is there a similarity in the chemistry, or are we similar to plants? Do we have some sort of affinity to plants? because his first words were, we know that Jagdish Chandra Bose has found that there is life in plants. But then is there similarity between life in plants and that in us? That was the question. Of course, as a student of class 8, I could not answer it. And I had to struggle for many, many years to come out with an answer. Later on, I found the answer. It was very much in the books. It's not that I invented or discovered it. It was very much in the books. We know that in the thing that gives energy to plants is chlorophyll. And inside chlorophyll, there is a molecule called porphyrin. And this porphyrin has in its center a molecule of magnesium. That gives its color. The green color is because of this magnesium molecule. Similarly, in our life also, we know that we are given energy by hemoglobin. And in the hemoglobin also there is porphyrin. And in the porphyrin, there is a molecule, this porphyrin molecule. Inside that, there is an atom of iron. That is the only difference between the chemistry of life in plants and that in human beings. So much of affinity. So when Sankardev used to sing the Jata Jiva Jangama Kita Patangama Aganaga Jogaterikaya, that was a kind of thing that that used to say, echo the same feeling that there was similarity between plants and our lives too. So when I could finally answer these to Dr. Birendra Kumar Bhattacharyya, that was around when I was just entered into college. There was an enigmatic smile in his face. He was so happy. But through his face, I could understand. I thought that he would not quite understand the thing that I was trying to speak about. But then he could understand it. And in fact, it appeared to me that he knew it. So I asked him, you probably knew it, no? You asked me just to find out whether I knew it or not. That indeed was his attempt. He himself told that indeed was the attempt, so as to provoke thinking in me, so as to provoke a kind of search, scientific search within me. So that was the thing. And then he told that in time I will ask you the third question. That was very interesting. And so when I was about to go to Delhi University for my master's in physics, the day before we had some of the friends of the family and some friends of my father used to have come to our house. And Dr. Birendra Bhattacharyya also came along with his wife, I still remember. And then he asked me, so now is the time for the third question. He asked me, there are two parts to this question. Are we really related when we speak about the humankind, that we are all related, that we are Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, that we are a family, humankind is a family? Is it really true also from the scientific perspective? And the second question related to this was, is diversity a scientific platform? Is it a scientific platform for creativity? The first part of it is when I started to mine for it, to find out the answer for the first part. It was not very difficult. We found that, of course, all life forms have come from some distant galaxy, some distant stars, and our molecules are all together. That's why the molecules that constitute my body and your body are all together, and that way we are all same. So there is a kind of really, the humankind is related, if you want to say. The second part of the question was relatively tough. So is diversity? Similarly, in science, really, we talk about what is known as symmetry. Symmetry means everything is more or less same, and that is what we mean in science. So initially, so for that, to find out that answer, I had to go back to the starting of our universe. Initially, there was only quantum vibrations, they say. Nothing else was there. Not even time or place, nothing was there. Everything was concentrated at a point. And then suddenly there was a big bang, and initial moments, there was symmetry everywhere. Everywhere, all sides, it looked similar. But then the nature had a different idea. Suddenly the symmetry was broken, and that's why from energy particles were created, then from particles we had matter, then matter, from matter we had big planets and stars, and then the life forms came. So all these came in touches. So then came life forms and biodiversity, and also cultural diversity. So the present world, which is which you can say is very creative, because it is sustaining in life in different forms, sustaining creative lives in different forms. So we could say that diversity is a scientific concept also. It comes from the scientific concepts of our very origin, and later on, when I got my master's in physics from Delhi University, and I came back. The very day I came back to Guwahati, I went to his house and to give this answer. Then I told him that you probably know even this answer. He said, I know part of this answer, not fully. So this was the answer we shared, and then he told me his final vision. Do you know why I asked you to find out this? I said, no, I have no idea. Then he said that I always talk about going for a world where no people will have not roofs. Everyone will have roofs on their head. Everybody will have food in their plate. Everybody will have clean water. Everybody will have provisions for education and health. This is my vision. And if that is true, and if we are all related, all the entire humankind is related, and if the diversity is to be sustained, this is the only way we can sustain it. So that is my vision of life. So I could see the man in totality that day. I still remember that day, as I told you that I came back from Delhi with my master's, and he said that these are the ideas we like you to probe. So I could see immediately the way he provokes thinking in persons. It was so, the question that he posed, these three questions almost changed the entire vision of my life. I admit here in front of all August audience, and so this is the type of man, a pure man of ideas, who could inspire other people with his ideas. So such sort of a person was Dr. Birendra Kumar Bhattacharyya, and probably, I still feel, probably we could not appreciate his talent the way it was at his time. There is still time to revisit his talent, his genius, and the kind of person that was Dr. Birendra Kumar Bhattacharyya. And I honestly believe that the researchers of this day will take pains to find out the best that was in this simple, very humble man otherwise, but then we had a very high vision of the world, with a very simple life, yet had this high vision of having everyone happy. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, that was his philosophy. And that was his idea of, so that is why how his socialist ideas flowered. So on this 23rd day of that great visionary, I once again pay my visit to that person. And I'm very honored to be a part of this entire process. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sudhir sir, for your valuable speech. We have got the opportunity to listen to you about the scientific quest of Dr. BKB through different experiences you have gathered with the interactions with Birendra kumar Bhattacharyya. And May I know, all of us know that Dr. Bhattacharya has served the highest academy of literature of the nation, Sahitya Academy, as its vice president and president. So we have with us Dr. K. Srinivasa Rao, the secretary of Sahitya Academy, and we are really grateful to Dr. Rao for participating in this webinar as one of our panelists. Dr. Rao is a very dynamic leader of Sahitya Academy, under whose leadership Sahitya Academy has got a different momentum. So we are really grateful to Dr. Rao, and may I now request Dr. Rao to speak a few words on Sahitya Academy and Dr. Birendra kumar Bhattacharya.
Thank you, Professor Satyakam. Respected Professor Nagin Saikiaji and friends. After this two great scholars' speeches, I am a little bit hesitant, particularly this Nagin Saikiaji's personal anecdotes and very scholarly lecture by Professor Amarjyoti Chaudhary ji. I am a little bit hesitant to speak on this occasion, but still, before going any further, first let me pay my respects to Professor Birendra Kumar Bhattacharyya ji on the occasion of this 23rd death anniversary. And also, today I came to know that Professor Amaresh Dattaji, a renowned scholar and a former chief editor of Encyclopedia of Indian Literature, and again he is from Dibrugarh, who is 102 years old. He passed away in the morning. So my respects on this occasion. I hope all of you are fine and your near and dear ones are safe and healthy. And as we all know, health is a wealth, is one cliched and proverbial expression cannot be appreciated and understand more now than at any other moment. Again, before going further, I would like to thank Dr. Birendra Kumar Bhattacharya Memorial Trust for giving me this opportunity to talk to you on this occasion of his 23rd death anniversary. Dr. Birendra Kumar Bhattacharya was the president of Sahitya Academy from 1988 to 1992. But all my personal interactions with him and learning from him happened only from 1994. You will be surprised to know about this. He was president up to 1992, but my interactions and personally associating with him from 1994 onwards, when I moved from Bombay to Delhi in 1993. I was assisting him personally many a times whenever he is in Delhi in connection with Jnanpith selection committee meetings, and also on the way to Kurukshetra University where he was Ram Manohar Lohia chair. First time I saw him was in March 1988. He was chairing a selection committee when I appeared for an interview to a small position in Academy's Mumbai regional office. At that time he was a president and he has taken my interview at that time, and I applied for a small position in the Academy, and today I am feeling proud that such a great personality has interviewed me at that time. So my association, I can claim the day one my entry in the Academy, not from 1994, though I met and we used to. And he was a towering literary personality, a gigantic figure in the worlds of letters, plays and socialism. Yet he was a very kind and passionate person. And he never exhibited any distinction of human beings based on the hierarchy or caste or color or gender or nationality. He was not only a writer, poet and a fine human being, he was also a very good administrator. His stints at various institutions, including the presidentship at Sahitya Academy, are testimonies to this fact. And during his stint as the president of Sahitya Academy, he commanded respect of all, not in the dictatorial style, but out of sheer accomplishment and stature as a writer and scholar, and his loving and down-to-earth approach to human beings and issues at hand. It was during his stint that Sahitya Academy's programs got an enormous boost, visibility and attention that they deserved. If his revamp of Samvatsar lecture series, that is very prestigious series we have, by streamlining the choice of topics and speakers, showed his acumen and scholarship, Then his introduction of Men and Books platform, nowadays it is known as a People and Books, is the testimony to his ability to think out of box even within the government setup. Is Dr. Birendra kumar Bhattacharyya's presidency. During that time, we introduced these People and Books, in which Dr. Karan Singh, many great personalities have taken part. And he also gave a fillip to Academy's prestigious Makers of Indian Literature series by engaging all the language advisory boards and ensured that best of Indian literature is carried to all the regions and languages. As a person, Bhattacharya was a simple person, simple living, high thinking was his characteristic traits, and Bhattacharya was a thoughtful person. Simple living, I would like to quote one example here. He used to travel by state transport bus from Delhi to Kurukshetra. Many a times I accompanied him with Madam Mrs. Bhattacharya in auto rickshaw from his guest house to bus stand. This is his simplicity. It is these traits that attracted me to him, even though I was acutely aware of the fact that Birendra Kumar Bhattacharya was a multifarious personality. Whatever I learned from Dr. Bhattacharya ji at that time has been etched in my brain and soul and has stood with me in good and testing times till now. I am sure this will remain with me till I breath last. This is one reason why immediately I said yes to my friend Professor Satyakamji when he contacted me to take part in today's program, though I am not an authority on Dr. Bhattacharya. Dr. Birendra Kumar Bhattacharya was a great poet, short story writer, dramatist, novelist, biographer, translator, lyricist, critic, teacher, and a good journalist, which we all know. At times, some people hasten to categorize him as a socialist thinker or scholar without realizing here was the personality who defied all categorization. Without doubt, socialist philosophies attracted him and influenced him immensely, but that very attraction and influence made him to grow beyond these philosophies. All literature is nothing capturing, reflecting, and storing reality, physical or outward, and inner or psychological. All human activity is nothing but sharing of stories at one level, especially literature, whether the genre is a poetry or novel or short story or a criticism or playwriting. Dr. Birendra Kumar Bhattacharya was a storyteller par excellence, first and foremost. Till his last moment, he remained a great storyteller. It is this ability that helped him to cross the human-made barriers so easily, while many intellectual giants struggled even at much lesser level. For this, I would like to recall Dr. Prabhakar Machwe's understanding and depiction. Dr. Prabhakar Machwe, in his essay entitled "The Ever-Smiling Cascade from Kamrup," has said about Dr. Birendra Kumar Bhattacharya. I quote, "Yet he never loses his grip on the reader's credibility. Herein lies the excellence of Dr. Birendra Kumar as a storyteller and a novelist who will be remembered for long and not just read and forgotten." Unquote. Some even described his stories were idealistic in nature and goal-forgetting. All his stories are taken from and deal with everyday happenings in life. He had a vast mind capable of grand imageries, and so idealism was never beyond his reach. But he was a humanist and existentialist in thought and conviction. That is the sole reason why he put human beings at the heart or center of all his works. The freedom struggle of India, Assam's contribution towards the independence, exploitation of the Indians by the ruling British, the socio-economic condition of the rural communities of India in general, and Northeast especially, the real picture of the tea gardens of Assam, the travails of ordinary daily wage laborers, straining relationships, all these and all other everyday occurrences of ordinary people have been captured and portrayed in his verse, and high imaginative flavor of the novelist was just an aid and nothing more. He wrote 2 dozen novels, and I am not going to not even mention all the names. I am just going to mention two of his greatest works to drive home my point, and as briefly as possible. Yaruyangam is the depiction of the Naga society, their customs and traditions, beliefs and superstitions, and it is a story of Naga people and their lives and not some imagination. And Mrityunjaya, as Nagin Saikya sir has mentioned, is the capturing of sacrifices and thought processes of ordinary Assamese people in the period leading up to Indian independence, even while highlighting the conflict of those people at the fulfillment of their actions. And this novel depicts a clear picture of the struggle and commitments of Assamese people in 1942 against British rule. And Sahitya Academy has got translated this Mrityunjaya into many Aruyangam into many Indian languages, including my own mother tongue Telugu. And he was also a great playwright and translator. As a dramatist and as a translator, Bhattacharya's contribution towards the field of Assamese literature insignificant. And he was also an excellent traveler, writer, and a biographer of high quality. And Bhattacharya's biographical books upon Sri Aurobindo, Vidyasagar, etc. were very significant. Moreover, he wrote more than 2,000 articles regarding literature, culture, politics, religion, and some contemporary issues very poignantly, and those were scattered in various newspapers and magazines. And today, more than ever before, the world needs multifaceted personalities like Dr. Birendra kumar Bhattacharya for his scholarship, but also for his love and humanism. These are the times when the world is fast losing its human side, and a dose of Dr. Birendra kumar Bhattacharya would do more than a mere help. So, my sincere thought at this moment is Dr. Birendra kumar Bhattacharya's works get translated in more languages around the world. And about Sahitya Academy's his association, particularly presidentship, and how he has maintained the autonomy, Dr. Nagin Saikya sir has already touched upon, and I should not touch those areas sitting in this seat. So once again, I'm thankful to every one of you, particularly Dipankarji and Professor Satyakamji. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Rao. Dr. Rao has highlighted not only the contributions of Dr. Birendra kumar Bhattacharya towards Sahitya Academy, but also he has highlighted on the works of Dr. Birendra kumar Bhattacharya. He has critically analyzed and expressed his views on the works of Birendra kumar Bhattacharya. We are really thankful to Dr. Rao for his erudite speech. And may I now request one another participant of our today's webinar, who is from Sri Lanka. All of us know that Dr. Birendra kumar Bhattacharya was not only a storyteller, but he was also a prominent poet of his age. And his poems were highly praised by the critics and of that time, and also these are considered as significant poems of that age, of the second half of last century of Indian literature of Assamese language. And now our invited speaker from Sri Lanka, who is Professor Onura Maratunga, is a senior professor in the Department of Archaeology, Faculty of Social Sciences, University of Kelaniya. He is a prominent scholar of his own repute. His research interest is on archaeological theory, history of archaeology, locational archaeology, collapse of civilization, and South Asia. He has 9 books on his credit, and he has also edited 18 very important volumes He has contributed several numbers of research papers and research-based articles to several national and international journals. Professor Manatunga will highlight on some allied areas related to the works of Dr. Birendra kumar Bhattacharyya. Professor Manatunga will deliver the special speech of today's webinar that will be on importance of preservation of poetic heritage. Professor Manatunga, please. Professor Manatunga, you are not audible. Please unmute. Please unmute, Professor Manatunga. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, okay, fine. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Satyakam. And I am very much honored and very happy to address today. And I would like to thank for inviting me to Dr. Deepankar Bhattacharya on behalf of the Dr. Birendra Kumar Bhattacharya Trust. And also I would like to thank my very good friend, Geetika Talutka from Assam. She is a photojournalist. I think she connected me with the Bhattacharya Trust, and I would like to thank her also. And today I would like to give a little bit on some personal things also, because I have some kind of relationship with Assam. I have Assamese friends since 1986. Professor Dilip Mehdi is a very good friend of mine. We were together at the Deccan College, Pune at that time. And also one of the Assamese lady, Dr. Geetanjali Goswami, she is now in Sri Lanka. She is a very good friend of mine. And Himansu Hiramai Das Gogli, she is also a good friend of mine. And once I visited Assam, Guwahati, I think in 2017 or 2018, for the South Asian Archaeology Conference on the invitation of the Directorate of Archaeology. And I would like to thank Dr. D.P. Rekha Kohli and Chabina Hasim and also Professor Mini Bhattacharya for this invitation. And also I addressed at Cotton University once. For that, I have been invited by Majuli Hasarika, is a prehistorian. And at that time, I have been invited by the Jain Association of Guwahati. So I'm very happy to be in Guwahati for a few days. And therefore, I have lots of friends in Assam now. And in fact, thereafter, I organized an international conference in Sri Lanka on Assamese culture. I think this is the first that type of conference in Sri Lanka on Assam. I don't know whether there was that type of conferences in elsewhere in the world, maybe in the Western countries, but this may be the first time in Sri Lanka, or possibly, and also most probably in some other South Asian countries also. And I'm very happy because at that time we came to know that the tea plantation of Sri Lanka was brought from Assam to Sri Lanka. Because tea is one of the major export item of Sri Lanka and it's a part of our culture. And you know about Ceylon tea. Sri Lanka is Ceylon at that time, so still we call it Ceylon tea. And therefore, we owe to Assam in some extent. Not only that, and I have seen some similarities between Assam and Sri Lanka. It's very greenery, both countries. And also people are also very much similar and very friendly. So Assam, I can say, is some kind of my second home. It's like that. Okay, now I would like to say why I am talking on poetry today. Poetry is also in some extent associated with me because I'm an archaeologist, but at the same time I write poems also, and I have already published 4 anthologies of poems and still writing some more poems. A few of them have been translated into English and published at the Amaravati Film Festival in Vijayawada. And I think I have seen lots of Assamese poem also there in that volume. For that also, I would like to thank one of my Assamese friend, Dr. Geetanjali Goswami. She introduced me to this Amravati Film Festival. So today I am going to talk on poems, therefore, because I don't write novels or short stories or some other writings, but little bit I have some associated poems. Therefore, I would like to talk on how to preserve poems and what is the importance of preserving poems. And I think it's very much related to Dr. Bhattacharya also, Birendra Kumar Bhattacharyya. I just went through his website, trust website, and there I have seen he has written lots of poems and lots of songs, and so therefore talking about poems is also related to him, and it's a tribute to him. I'm really honored to do some kind of this much little thing, even this much little thing, in honor of a great personality like B.K. Bhattacharya. So you all know what's the importance of poems, so I don't want to say what's the importance of poems, but I would like to draw your attention into protecting of poems. To protect poems, what we have to do, because at this time poems has not have that much attraction as it was 20 or 30 years before. At that time everybody recite poems and also read poems, and there were lots of poetries are being published, but now it is diminished in due to the popularity of music and so on, and also people are not reading that much nowadays, and whatever the reasons, poems are not that much popular as it was in 2 or 3 decades before. But poems are very important, not only as the form of art, but also a means of history or a part of the heritage. We know that poem is not only an artistic work, but it has a lots of other things can be gained through analyzing poems. We can study history, we can study culture, we can study environment, and everything through poems. And poems are actually truth. They are not only compiled or not only a creative work. This creation is also given the truth image of people. So therefore, as an archaeologist, I am very much interested on ancient poems.
Yes.
And you know, I'll take. I'm not taking your time that much, and you know about the importance of poem and what we do to preserve them. For that, I think we have to do one thing is that we have to open up exclusive libraries for poems, because that kind of libraries are in the Western world. If you go to England, you can see the National Poetry Library in London. That is very famous there in London and throughout England, and this library has more than 30,000 books on poetry. And there are a lot, and the building itself is considered as one of the best library buildings in the world, and also one of the best 100 buildings of the modern period. So it means they have given a big recognition for poetry, and this poetry center is very active center. So there are poetries from 1912 up to present. They preserve them, and people go there and recite them, read them, and there are some workshops are being conducted there for children, for elders, and for the poets, and everybody, common people are coming there. So this kind of poetry library, I think we should have established in our countries and our regions also. And there is the same type of poetry library in Scotland. That's also a very famous one. In America also, there is one in New York. It's called the Poetry Museum actually. It's like library, but they call it a museum because they wanted to preserve poems. Therefore, they are having this poetry museum there, and some poetry foundations are there, and those foundations are also like museums and also libraries. And we also need this kind of library. As far as I know, I mean, 2 or 3 years before, some academics from Delhi, they attempted to establish a national poetry library in India, but I don't know what's the present situation of it. If it is there, it's very good. And if it is not there, I think we should have established a poetry library in India. And we can have some more poetry libraries. I think we can have one in Assam for Assam poetry. I think you can have it in Gulbarga University itself or somewhere else. And today, I just, before coming here, I talked with the SAARC cultural director, and she is here, fortunately for us, and she is agreed to open up a poetry library for SAARC countries. So that's a very good news, and this the credit should go to the Bhattacharya Memorial Trust, because thanks to this trust, she got interested on it, and she is going to open it. And we just approached the Director General of SAARC in Kathmandu, and he is also very happy about that, and he asked us to send a proposal through this lady director of the SAARC Cultural Center, one of my good friends, Professor Prashanthi Narangoda. So we can have keep contacts with her for follow up this work, and that is one of the very good things we can do in future for all of us. Then we can join, we can come there, we can collect our poems into one place, and we can have some workshops, and we can have conferences on poetry, and that will be a very good poetry gathering in near future. So I think Professor Prashanthi will talk after me a little bit and say what's her plan on that, and what we are going to preserve there, and what we are going to do in this kind of poetry libraries. One thing, that we can collect books. That's true. That's no problem about that. But one important thing that we simply forget is that the manuscripts. See, the manuscripts of books of Dr. Bhattacharya. Do you have those things? I have seen one or two in your website, and I'm sure you have collected some of them in your trust. But some other poets are not that much lucky to preserve their manuscripts. I think we have to collect manuscripts. Manuscripts are very important. The original copies, they are written in their own handwriting. So those manuscripts we have to collect, and we have to ask them after they give them to the printing press for publication, give us the original hand copy, and we can preserve it. So that's very important. And then we can digitalize those things. That also we can do. And the other thing is the signed copies. As a book collector, we know that the importance of the signed copies are very higher than the other copies. Therefore, we would like to collect the signed copies of the authors. So that's also very important when we are talking about the poem libraries. And then we have to collect folk songs and folk poems and that kind of things. They are coming down from oral tradition, from generation to generation. So that type of poems also we can collect. For that we can do a survey everywhere. We can use some undergraduates or some other people, and it's not that much difficult thing to collect. But the problem is, if we don't collect those things now, they will be vanished within few years. And already lot of poems are being obliterated and also vanished. So therefore, we have to take a step and collect some poems from rural areas and gather them. So those are the old poems. And then what we are doing for the poems that we are writing now, most of us write poems on the Facebook and some other electronic medias. Those are called digitally born poems. But these digitally born poems has to be preserved. There are some softwares to preserve those poems, but they are a little bit costly. But what we can do is, wherever we write a poem in electronic media, we can send them into one of the central place, something like that SAARC Poetry Library or somewhere else in future, and then we can gather those poems. So those things I think we can do in future to preserve poems. And so there are a lot of other things to say, but I would like to talk only one thing about that. See, that we know about Assam, we have heard about Assam, we love Assam, but we don't know about Assam in general. Why? None of the Assamese books have been published in Sri Lanka in Sinhalese language. So what we can do is we can translate some of the books. First, we can select one of the Dr. B.K. Bhattacharya's short story or something like that. And if you so kindly give us the English translation, we can do it, put it into Sinhala. We can do it. And I think we should do that. Then only we can understand each other. We have hundreds of English writers' books. We have hundreds of other, even Hindi and Bengali writers' books, but not Assamese writers. But we know that they have also had a great literary tradition. So for that, to develop that and preserve that, please help us to get them translate into my own language. Then your Dr. B.K. Bhattacharya and also Professor Attakam and all the other writers will be known to our people. So that's the best way. Rabindranath Tagore is known by everybody. It's thanks to his publications in our own language. They have been published in our language from the 1920s. So everybody knows about Gora and other thing and this thing, and because those are in my own native language. So let's do that. We'll join. I think the Sakis, they are with us. There are big ladies with us here, a responsible lady, and we put all this idea to her, and then she will try to operate some of them and to do some work. And that's all that I have to say. Thank you very much. And thank you, Dr. Deepanka Bhattacharya, for allowing me to speak. And I would like, if you so kindly allow Professor Mrs. Prasanthi Narangoda to express her views. It's up to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Manatunga. Your speech has encouraged us to cross the limit of the geographical borders regarding spreading the feelings of the poets. And also you have highlighted some very important topics. I am remembering Gavinos, the German literary historian, who says that the literature which depicts the real history of society. And you are telling that regarding preservation of the history, we'll have to preserve the poetry. This is very important. And also you have highlighted some important topics regarding translation, and we can jointly work for that. Birendra Kumar Bhattacharya Trust is here. Also Professor Nagen Sekia sir is here. Here is also another very dynamic leadership of Professor Kandarpa Deka. Here is another trust, Professor Nagen Sekia Trust also there. Both the trusts can work together to translate it to Sinhalese, and also the proposal for establishing a poetry library in Assam. This is a very interesting and very lucrative proposal, and we are ready to work on it. And I hope that Professor Narangoda will allow us to work on that, and both the trust can jointly work on it, and we can go for that. We are very much happy that we have with us Professor Prasanthi Narangoda, the Director of Sark Cultural Center. So may I request Professor Narangoda to offer a few lines in this auspicious occasion. And also we hope that our association with Professor Manatunga and Professor Narangoda will be continued after this webinar also. Professor Prasanthi, please. Professor Prasanthi, please unmute your voice. Please unmute your voice, Professor Prasanthi.
Unmute, please.
Yes, you can hear me now.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So thank you so much for inviting me and introducing me to this significant evening and their mission and vision towards restoring Professor Bhattacharya's poetry for the future. And as you all told that poetry is a means of expression. I think that is the most important, very significantly, the medium of expression of people unanimously comes from everybody's heart and mind and soul, and it gives us all the happiness and grievances that the world has uttered at times. So therefore, restoring that kind of expressions, their feelings, culture does an immense kind of assistance to cope up with people's situations at times, from time to time. And it's very much a dynamic language in the world. Therefore, as Professor Manatunga uttered very correctly, we need to preserve them for the future generation, because that is the history that belongs to our society, that belongs to our culture. And SAC Cultural Center is there to restore, promote, and to implement events and programs to restore these cultural elements to the generations ahead. And being the director, being proposed by Professor Manatunga, and being required by the SAC Cultural Center, we love to provide all the facilities to establish a SAC Poetry Library in the massive building complex we are proposing, and we are under construction now. It will be ready within another 1 or 2 years for the SAC region as the cultural hub. So we are planning to establish that cultural hub. Within that, SAC Poetry Library will be one of it. So I will do the best that I can do to implement and establish a SAC cultural through the SAC Cultural Center, a poetry library that includes Ms. Bhattacharya's poetry as well, and world-recognized poets work in there. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, and I hope we can all work together to restore these cultural cultural elements, which has an immense value to our society. Thank you very much, and have a good evening to you all.
Thank you, Professor Prasanthi.
You're welcome.
I believe that today's webinar was very fruitful for us because we got the opportunity to listen the scholars from different regions and who spoke from different dimensions. We got the opportunity to listen to Professor Nagin Saikia sir, who had the close association with Dr. Birendra kumar Bhattacharyya. We got the opportunity to listen to Professor Amarjyoti Chaudhary sir, who highlighted a very interesting topic, the scientific insight of Birendra kumar Bhattacharyya. The scientific insight of a writer, it is very important, and scientific quest of a writer is very important, and he has highlighted that topic in a very interesting manner. And we got the opportunity to listen to the scholarly deliberation of the Secretary of Sahitya Academy, Mr. K. Srinivas Rao. Also, we got the opportunity to listen Mr. Manatunga, Professor Manatunga, and Professor Prasanthi. This was very interesting and fruitful deliberations from all the scholars. And at the end, may I request Jury Bhattacharya, the daughter of Dr. Birendra kumar Bhattacharya, to kindly deliver the vote of thanks. Madam Jury Bhattacharya, please.
Namaskar and good evening. On behalf of Birendra kumar Bhattacharya Memorial Trust, I would like to extend my gratitude to Sahitya Academy Awardee, renowned writer and former professor of Assamese in Dibrugarh University, Dr. Nagin Saikia sir. Thank you, sir, for your valuable speech, and we are grateful to you for giving your time and kind support to us. Now I would like to thank Vice Chancellor of Downtown University, Dr. Amarjyoti Chaudhary, sir. He is not only a renowned scientist and educationist, but also a poet, novelist, and researcher. Thank you, sir, for your mesmerizing speech, and we are honored to have your presence here. We are extremely grateful to renowned poet and archaeologist, former head of the Department of Archaeology, Kelaniya University, Anura Manatunga. He knows Assamese culture very well and he visited Assam many a time. Sir, on behalf of DKD Memorial Trust, I would like to extend heartfelt thanks to you for giving us your precious time. You have enlightened us with your speech. I also want to thank Professor Prashanti Narayan for her excellent speech and giving her valuable time. Now, my sincere gratitude to K. Srinivasa Rao. He is the Secretary of Sahitya Akademi, New Delhi, and also a renowned writer. Thank you, sir, for your wonderful speech and for giving your precious time to us. A deep gratitude to the Professor of Assamese, Chairperson of Center for Studies in Journalism and Mass Communication in Dibrugarh University, Dr. Satyakam Thakur. Moreover, today he has successfully conducted and moderated the international webinar on Dr. Birendra kumar Bhattacharyya, for which we are very much grateful to him. Now I would like to thank Dr. Dipankar Bhattacharya, Secretary, DKD Memorial Trust, Dr. Rachna Jadhav, Joint Secretary of the Trust, and also the other trustees for their kind support and efforts for making the webinar successful. We are very much grateful to Amtron for their technical support, especially to Dheeraj Devi and Akhilesh. Now, at last but not the least, I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to those participants who attended the international webinar today from different parts of the country and abroad, and also from different places of Assam. Thank you, everybody. Have a nice day. And with this, I, Julie, signing off. Namaskar.
Thank you, Jury Madam. And with this word of thanks, I again offer our sincere thanks and gratitude to all of you. And I am feeling honored to getting this opportunity to moderate this very important webinar. And with this few words, I declare this webinar as closed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Keep in touch. Dandavad.
Thank you very much, Dr. Anura.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll be in touch. I have already messaged you. We'll give you 2 books immediately.
Yes, please.
Thank you to Prasanthi also.
Thank you so much for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to share and contribute from the Staff Cultural Center to this immense event.
You can invite them to contribute to your journal.
We will. Yeah, we can. I mean, if you can, we have the names because we are going to prepare a journal, a research journal, so we can have some kind of articles on Birendra kumar Bhattacharya.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
ma'am. Thank you very much. We'll be in touch.
Yes, please.
We will be in touch.
It's a great meeting. We are honored with your presence.
Yeah, honored. Thank you.
Welcome. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.